Are you new to paganism and unsure whether or not to practice alone or with a community? Let's explore these together. Today we'll delve into the benefits and challenges of both community and solo practice in paganism, helping you find the path that's right for you. Hi, I'm Matt Holloway, Director of the Pagan Project. The Pagan Project is a non-profit organization working to cultivate a supportive network where knowledge is shared, traditions are honored, and individuals of diverse backgrounds can come together to celebrate their spiritual paths. Through building accessible resources, creating mentorship opportunities, and making online connections. As a practicing pagan, I've experienced both solo and community practices, and I want to share what I've learned with you. My personal practice is mostly solo, as we'll get into later on. Being primarily an animist, I spend most of my time outside, but I do understand the value in community practice, which is why I'm working hard to help build the Pagan Project into an inclusive, vibrant community. Let's get into it. So first we're going to give a little brief overview of paganism in general, and then we'll kind of dive into community versus solo practice. All right, so paganism, simply stated, is a diverse spiritual path that encompasses many traditions, practices, and often focuses on nature and personal spirituality. Some key points about paganism: there is a focus on nature first. It's more of a personal spiritual path to the individual for individual enlightenment and peace and understanding of the world around them. Paganism is mostly polytheistic, but it also includes other paths like pantheism, panentheism, and others as well. It includes both closed and open beliefs and practices. It's important to understand which are which when you go down a pagan path. I recommend, if you see a pagan path or you see a culture that interests you, that you would like to learn more about, first, find out whether or not that path is open or closed to outsiders. Certain paths are very specific to a culture, and they don't really like it when others start getting into it because those gods or those ancestors are really specific to them. So just be mindful of the paths that you choose. Paganism has roots in every place on earth. Every continent has roots in paganism, from Australia, the Pacific Islands, North, South, Central America, Europe, Asia, Africa. Every continent, every culture has a root in paganism. There's a lot of diversity in pagan paths from different cultures, again, like I said, belief systems. Many pagan traditions are older than history, while even some are fairly young, and even some others are technically, and they're still in their infancy. They're very new pagan paths. But not one is more valid than the other, and that's important because traditions change over time. Customs change over time. Everything is always evolving. We're learning things, and it's important to understand that all these paths are valid as long as respect is there. I believe that all pagan paths and beliefs are valid and should be respected. From Wicca to Druidry, and even the indigenous practices of Native Americans, Hinduism, paganism really offers a wide range of paths with all their unique practices and beliefs. So let's get into community practice. We're going to define community practice involving rituals, events, activities with other pagans, either in person or online. Some forms of community in paganism would be like local groups, local covens. You have the different structures and the functions of the covens or the different pagan groups. Can include festivals and big gatherings, for events and holidays like Beltane, Samhain, Litha, all these, you got the Wheel of the Year, you have the different bloats in Norse paganism, and around the world they have all their different festivals and beliefs and traditions, and that could, encompass all these community gatherings, these community practices. And then you also have online communities. So you have social media groups, online forums, Patreons, Discord servers. You have these different online communities that are able to connect pagans worldwide with different pagan practices and belief systems, and to help foster all the different benefits of being in a community. All right, some of those benefits would be a sense of belonging. So being part of a community provides that sense of belonging and the support, on your path. One thing that Christian churches do very well is the community or the social clubs that they're created around them. People from different social classes, different careers, etc., can come together for a shared spirituality, belief, or interest. So that's really cool. So it can bring people from all these different places together based on their one commonality, their spirituality. And pagans can do the same thing. That's really important. We're fully capable of bringing, all these different people together. If it's like, say it's a Norse pagan bloat, we can pull people that their commonality is their belief in the Norse gods and goddesses and deities to come together for a summer bloat. Or if you have, people with Celtic ancestry that follow a Celtic path, they can come together for that. Or again, you have the Mayans, the Aztecs, you have people all around the world with all their different beliefs. They come together and they can perform these rituals together and, with a shared belief system, but also kind of highlight all their individualities and the diversity of the pagan community and bring everyone together for that. And that's really awesome. And that's something that, the pagans can do. We're fully capable. One other benefit to having a community practice is the sharing of resources. Community makes sharing of resources so much easier. Sharing books, sharing mentors, teaching each other, and the guidance that comes along with it from experienced pagans to newer pagans. There's a whole blending of different experience levels, different traditions, different belief systems that people can come together and learn from each other and grow together. So the sharing of the resources is great because it equips pagans to move along the chosen paths a lot easier and with fewer hurdles to have to go through. Because trying to find these books online, you don't know what you're looking for. A lot of these, particularly in the Norse path, there's a lot of sagas and stories out there, and the names are really hard to pronounce in some of them. So it's hard for new pagans to understand where to look for these things. So having these shared resources makes something like that much easier for new pagans to find this information. One other big benefit to community pagan practice are group rituals. These group rituals, celebrations can be powerful and enriching experiences for new pagans, or for experienced pagans alike. Not only does it help teach the new pagans and create that sense of belonging that we mentioned, but friendships that are created through shared rituals seem to be a lot stronger, because especially like the learning aspect of that ritual. So you have new pagans, 3 or 4 people that are new at this big event, they are learning together, and those friendships forged in fire, so to speak, are much stronger. So having the shared rituals and the shared resources and the sense of belonging with community practice is amazing for new pagans, and we need more of that. But you can't talk about the benefits without talking about some of the challenges as well of pagan communities practices. One of the big things are differing beliefs. A lot of people have different perspectives and beliefs, and it can sometimes lead to conflict. With paganism focusing more on personal spirituality and growth, groups of people can conflict on ideas and beliefs. Primarily, it's all around a misunderstanding of the specifics and the differences between UPG, SPG, and VPG. I'll go into that in more detail in another video, but UPG, unverified personal gnosis, SPG, shared personal gnosis, and VPG, verified personal gnosis. I'll start with the VPG real quick. VPG is something that is historical, accepted, and widely believed. So VPG is Odin is the Allfather. SPG, a shared personal gnosis, would be something more along the lines of like divination with runes. There's not verified in history whether or not how these runes were used for divination or other things like that. All we know for a fact is that there was some magic associated with them, that they are an alphabet, and there's some connection to the runes in the Norns, and Odin sacrificed himself on a tree for an alphabet or more. We don't know. That's a shared personal gnosis. So a lot of people believe that the runes have, power in divination and things like that, but we don't have any verification on that. UPG is completely unverified personal gnosis. This is something to the effect of, I had a dream last night and Odin talked to me and he told me that he really wanted me to do X, Y, or Z. Or he showed me this rune and it, just opened my eyes. See, that's something unverified. That's not something that's talked about in the sagas. It's not something that anyone else experienced, but something that you personally experienced. So that's on you. So like a lot of these misunderstandings that can happen to this is if somebody with a UPG, a personal experience, tried to force their UPG to be accepted and verified by others. So say my UPG was that Odin told me that this rune had this meaning, and I tried to tell other people that had this meaning, there's going to be some disagreement in there because they're like, no, there's nothing that says that. That's your UPG. And while it's okay to share your UPG, you should understand that that is your personal belief. That should not have to be pushed onto other people. So keep that in mind. This... And again, I'm going to go into this in a much broader topic because I feel like this is where a lot of conflict in pagan communities comes from, is a misunderstanding between these. But that's just something to keep in mind when, as a big challenge with pagan communities that I've seen, through online forums, TikTok, YouTube and other social platforms. I see a lot of arguments based on that, because people just simply don't understand the differences between those. On the other side of that, it's important that people that take a strict historical view of their pagan path, that only look at the VPG of that, and they only accept anything. They only accept what's verified. They don't look into the unverified or the shared gnosis. They really stick strictly to what's verified. A lot of times those people will reject everything that's unverified. Try to tell other people who had a personal experience that their experience is not valid just because it's not verified. But these historical, strict pagans should understand that just because it's not a verified belief doesn't mean it's not real for the other individual. And that's something that, again, as the pagan community, we really need to focus on and accept that just because it's not real for us doesn't mean it's not real for other people. So we need to keep that in mind with that as well. As long as the individuals, again, on both sides, understand the difference between the UPG, SPG, VPG, as long as people understand the differences between that, and accept those differences, I think we would have a lot better dynamics in the pagan communities. So that is one of the big challenges, with the differing beliefs and, the conflict that arises because of that. Another challenge for pagan communities is dependence on the group. The group's availability and dynamics, can impact your practice a lot, because like by always practicing in community, your own spirituality may be prone to staying on the shared path. When sometimes it's a good thing to wander other paths to embrace your own personal spirituality. So wandering these paths is a good thing to learn more and grow as an individual. You don't always have to grow as a group. Sometimes you need to grow as an individual. And sometimes strict community practices can impede that if you don't actually embrace some of your own solo practice as well. So that's another little challenge to the community practice. Groups are great for learning, experiencing large rituals, celebrations, etc., but just always remember that the individual solo path is still important. All right, let's get into the solo practice a little bit now. We'll define solo practice as involving or performing rituals, meditations, other spiritual activities on your own. Personally, this is the core of my personal practice, as I mentioned before. Between utiseta, which is like sitting out, meditating in nature, and tending to plants and animals, solo practice has formed really the core of my personal spirituality. I spend a lot of my time outside. My job is outside, in the woods, by a creek, a pond. I'm working on building and growing groves on my property for different purposes, for my own spirituality. So solo practice is a big part of my personal practice. If I had to percentage it out, I would say 80 to 90% of my personal practice is solo, and the rest of it is mostly online or individual, with a couple of individuals, but no large groups personally. And that's just because of the location I'm in. I live kind of in the heart of the Bible Belt, so there's not a lot of openly pagan communities where I'm at. But with the Pagan Project, we hope that can change and have more outward pagan communities popping up all over the world, all over the country. Some benefits to solo practice are personal freedom. You have the complete freedom to tailor your practice to your own personal needs and preferences. Me, I tailor it to my own personal needs. I need to be alone a lot of times to clear my mind, to meditate. So again, I have the freedom to do that when I want to. I don't have to wait for a group to meet in order to expand my spirituality. I can do that on my own. So that's a really good thing of solo practice. Particularly if you want to explore your own UPG and explore your own dreams, or studying the runes, or if it's tarot or whatever your own personal beliefs are, studying that to gain some understanding that's separate from what's verified. So you can kind of explore your own UPG in solo practice, whereas group practice is more the shared personal gnosis or the verified. So solo practice really focuses on that UPG. And with solo practice, you can kind of delve a little bit more into eclectic practices. That's the melding of different traditions. It's important to also to understand that when you're melding those different traditions, you may want to keep in mind the traditions that you're mixing together for your eclectic practice, and make sure there aren't any conflicts in that. So again, making sure it's an open practice, not closed practices, and being respectful to those those original individual traditions on that. Something that's another big benefit to solo practice, I can't speak today, is the flexibility that it allows. You can practice whenever and however it suits you. And like I mentioned with that eclecticism, you can practice however you want. You aren't held to specific dates, times for practice. If, say, with the summer solstice, you out of town, you had to do something, maybe you can, work it out another day, maybe the day after, the day before. It, depending on your own personal practice, that might not be as big of a deal. Or, again, you have work, we have lives, school, etc. We may not be able to get with those group community practices, that we can have the flexibility to, practice on our own. So I couldn't do a specific bloat with other people, so I worked on it on my own, and I did my own bloat here at my house. So that flexibility with practice definitely comes out with that solo practice. And it allows a lot more time for introspection. It allows for that deeper introspection and personal growth. Whereas you can't meditate in large groups. Well, you can, but it's rarely effective. You have say yoga, where it's kind of like a group meditation in a way. But solo meditation is, in my opinion, a lot more effective. Groups are for shared experiences, but solo practice is more about personal growth and personal healing. So keep that in mind with as far as solo practice, it's all about more of the personal and the individual itself, whereas community practice is more for the larger community, larger rituals, larger gatherings, festivals, etc. And I would be amiss if I didn't mention some of the challenges with solo practice, and a lot of these I feel myself, primarily the feeling of isolation. Without a community, it can be very lonely, and I've mentioned this before in other things, but that's where the Christian church really thrives, in building that community and combating that loneliness that can come with it. I've known pagans that left their pagan practice. They're still pagan at heart, but they joined back with the church just because they felt alone. And that's another thing with the Pagan Project I'm looking to combat. To build these communities where pagans can get together and practice together without having to feel alone. With solo practice, there's usually a lack of resources, or at least a lack of shared resources. You might miss out on some shared knowledge or resources that a community might offer. You don't get to experience these elders who have been down these paths, who understand some of this stuff, who can help you meditate, learn to meditate, or learn, say, the sagas or the histories, the traditions, the cultures of the pagan path you're going down. So when you're doing this alone, it's all about the homework, and that's one of the big things that people in the pagan community say, that, oh, you're a pagan now, just remember, this isn't a spoon-fed religion, this is the religion with homework. And while that's very true, bringing shared resources together, building up mentorships and teachers within the pagan community can make it so much better for new pagans to learn these paths, to go down these paths. So again, this is a big challenge with solo practice and the paganism at large, because it is very solo and individual oriented. But this is really a situation where communities, online communities particularly, can shine, particularly with solo practitioners. Communities like the Pagan Project are really working to build libraries of resources to share and help new pagans find their path, find their way, and navigate these paths. Whether it's a shared path along with others, that verified personal gnosis, or it's a more personal path to that individual, their own unverified personal gnosis. So just keep in mind, there are benefits and challenges to both community practice and to an individual practice. And it's important to understand the differences between the two, and to know where the strengths and weaknesses of yourself are, as well as the particular community or solo practices that you're working on. Excuse me. So I want you to think about what resonates with you more: the support of a community or the freedom of solo practice. And just remember, you don't have to pick just one or the other. You can choose both, and you can mix it up. Like I mentioned, me personally, I practice solo most of the time. I would say 80 to 90% of the time it's solo practice, with the support of an online community or three. So I have some online community friends that are also pagans that I can ask questions to. We can discuss certain aspects of paganism or the particular pagan paths and discuss these things and have open dialogue on this and learn from each other in the online communities. And that's, one thing again that the Pagan Project is trying to work on. It also gives you, chance for experimentation. I suggest trying out community practice. If there is a pagan community near you, maybe it's a slightly different path. Maybe it's kind of an eclectic event that's got pagans from all different areas of expertise. Experience that. See what's going on. You might find something that you like that resonates better with you, or you may decide that, okay, this isn't for me. I would rather be a solo practitioner, and that's okay. Try out different online communities. Try out the Pagan Project. We don't have a lot of people, but the people we do have are good, strong, respectful individuals, and we encourage that across the board. Like, respect is the number one thing within the community. So, yeah, definitely come check it out. Don't be afraid to experiment with both. You can mix and match solo, community, whether it's events, festivals, rituals, small groups like a small coven, or large groups like a big festival. It's up to you. You can experiment and you can play around with whatever works best for you. So to kind of recap, all that, whether you choose to practice in a community or alone, remember both paths have their benefits. Both paths have their challenges. It's important to understand those challenges and the benefits, of course. And, I just encourage you to embrace your journey. Trust your intuition. And share your experiences with others, whether it's in an online community, an in-person community, or in the comments below this video. Let me know about your experiences. Ask questions. I love questions. So if you have any questions on anything, if I don't personally have the answer to it, I will learn and I will research it and I will find it, whether it's through one of our other members of the community, whether it's me finding out what books to read those books, whatever I have to do, I will find the answers to your questions. And if I don't answer you in the comments, there will be a video coming. So just keep that in mind. Just keep doing what you do. Be awesome. We have some more videos coming up. I think the next video I'm going to do is specifically on UPG, SPG, VPG, just so we can get a little bit more information out about that, so people have a stronger understanding of the differences between those. And thank you for watching. If you would, I'd appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, all the things. Definitely, I think the bell. Follow along so you know when new videos are coming. I'm going to try to start putting out a lot more videos regarding this and more information about the Pagan Project in general. So yeah, follow along. Keep being the best part of what we're doing here. And yeah, peace.